All right. Welcome to another edition of Clifton's Clicks, your Cliff Notes to the Cosmos. I am your host, Clifton, Cliffmaster Smith, or Clickmaster Smith. I gotta come up with a better nickname. Anyway, thanks for joining. As always, I greet you with love and respect, gratitude and motivation and appreciation for all aspects of reality. And today I want to talk specifically about incorporating the vibrational view of reality into your day-to-day as it relates to using it as a navigation system for your life story and our soul and all that fun stuff. So this is a bit inspired by a person named Christopher Witecki. It's inspired by my guru Paramahansa Nityananda, as well as my own direct experience with spirit and channeling. And so we talked about the upgraded operating software, and we talked about the different vibrational frequencies. And we talked about how the experiences that we are developing help us maintain and develop various levels of vibrational frequency within our life with a goal of going to a higher vibratory frequency. With the idea that retaining homeostasis at a higher vibration allows us to interact with and expose ourselves to various other lower vibrations without it impacting us significantly, or rather, we can choose to elevate our vibration back to that higher vibe as the norm, rather than having to continuously go through a process of nurturing to get ourselves back up to that vibe. And I'm going to pause right here for our bada-bum advertisement for structured water. Delicious. Oh yeah, some good stuff. And today's special advertisement, the Atmalinga. Yes, the Spotica, energetically charged by Nityananda. Back to it. So we got the instrument, we've got the tunes, we got the frequency, and we've got the idea that we are here harmonizing with humanity and with other aspects of reality, which require a greater and greater understanding and comprehension of how the cause and effect impacts reality and the various dimensions of reality, as well as the various aspects of society and the environment as a whole. So we're not here just to harmonize humanity. We're here to harmonize the earth. And that requires some recalibration of our Earth's grid systems and some pretty intense things of that nature. Scaling it down, and of course, the grid system of the planet and how it interacts with specific stargates in the solar system is quite an advanced topic, one in which I am learning and being enriched myself and checking in with how it applies. Right now I'm focusing on something a little more grounded, which is ourselves, because let's just start there and then we can work our way up, shall we? We shall. So one interesting aspect of the upgraded operating software, the development cycle that we went on, was the recognition through the Rife machine and other bioenergetic tools that we can utilize specific frequencies to tap into, assess, and empower certain organs in our body, such that 528 hertz is associated with the heart, as well as there are certain frequencies. There are frequencies, I'm not quite sure the specifics of them, that pertain to particular organs and meridians of the body. This was covered in a much earlier edition. And so when we go about our day-to-day life, we can consciously choose to play the song or the tune or the melody of the vibrational frequency which we wish to have. And what is being advocated these days is to follow the heart in a heart-brain coherent state. or some people are saying follow the heart. Some people are saying start, do a heart-brain coherence. And my advocacy is a heart-brain spirit or higher self guidance. And that each one of those has a specific frequency. Yes, the heart has a frequency that you can tap into, that you can play. It's 528 hertz. You can feel it in your heart, and it feels good, and it impacts the way you interact with your day-to-day life in the now, as it guides you through the infinite, realities that you are exposed to in the present moment, in which you create specific choices, which then cumulatively affect your reality and your life. And so, yes, the heart is great. You can follow the heart, and a lot of people advocate for the heart. You can also follow the heart-brain frequency. Yes, the brain has frequency, and we measure it, but what I am advocating is an expansion of that, which is heart-brain coherence, which is what the Heart Math Institute is really focused on, and demonstrating the efficacy and the benefits to it, to being in that state. So flow state, greater creativity, greater gratitude, more cohesiveness with team members, etc. And they have a whole slew of that information, of the benefits, the scientific information. And that, the heart-brain coherence, has a frequency, has a resonance, has a signature to it. And in fact, subtle energy has specific mandalas energetically encoded with that signature to help you be in that state, which is awesome. And one additional level that I'm advocating for is the frequency of the heart, brain, and spirit, or God, or higher self, whatever you want to, creator, source, all names of similar things. Is yes, there is source energy, and entering into certain states, it's just pure source energy, just coming down, raining truth bombs on you without any consideration of anything. It's just boom, truth bombs. And Calaverva is similar in that nature. Not really, but I use that as a reference point. Like true source is just source. It's just bright light. This is what it is. KB is a little different, so I'll just make that clarity. But channeling from a frequency is a frequency. And you can choose that frequency to live your life, or you can tap into that frequency occasionally, right? Depending if that's the energy frequency you want to start to exist at or taste. And of course, you might be in that frequency, but it's not being broadcasted to you by the channel that you're connecting with. So there's times where I do connect, or I do enter into that frequency state, connecting with entities, like where it just doesn't work, and so, or there's no message. It's not that it doesn't work; it's everything. But the message, there's like no message. The broadcast isn't on, and for various reasons. One of which is like, why are you even tuning into this? You don't actually need to tune into that. But I'm still existing at that frequency state. And what I'm advocating is connecting that higher frequency tuning ability with your brain, with your heart, as a optimal guiding mechanism, to navigate yourself, kind of autopilot, like best autopilot, because our day is primarily just autopilot of behaviors that we've developed growing up. So 99% of our day is autopilot. So what would you want that autopilot to be? Would you want it to be autopilot of a frequency that's low vibration, that's full of trauma and incompletions? No, but that's what most of ours is. So what would you want it? Well, I'm advocating the best one is a heart, brain, spirit coherent frequency. And so in order to enter into that, one has to identify and connect with their higher selves and speak their truth and be on a specific mission. I advocate it be a collective, a group effort towards an enlightened ecosystem, so that way we can build the support structures to allow for a high vibratory reality and society, as well as tools and practices to allow us to enter into lower vibratory states and engage with that and allow us to go back to a higher vibratory state, or allow us to not be impacted with energetic hangovers from those lower vibratory states. Um, and so as you do that, and as you can study on your own, or through Guru Paramahansa Nityananda, blessings and gifts of studying Vedic scriptures, or I'm sure there's many other. Well, it's probably the best way of going, to be able to access the things like the Akashic record and to channel. I'm not fully confident or understand fully whether it's a unique ability or whether it's imparted. I believe that it can be just gifted, initiated through a master like Nityananda. And so when you do that, you start to really be able to hone in those psychic powers and psychic abilities, which in some cases take lifetimes to develop. And in the presence of a really powerful individual who can initiate you, it can be done through that initiation. And that's really cool too. And it takes practice and integration of the channeling and whatnot. And then what happens is, with that connection, it is you are able to connect it with your brain through using it for specific thoughts or for mind-driven tasks or objectives. And that's great. It also accesses your memory bank and your metaphors, which is wonderful. Your history, your brain's memory bank for stories, and I mentioned that before. And what that does is that activates a lot of crown. Sometimes that ungrounds me, because it's literally changing the frequency of my body, which removes me from the frequency of this earth and the gravitational pull of this planet on my body. So I'm literally like not grounded, literally elevated. And then one final aspect is to connect that to the heart, so that way you have that incredible feeling of connectedness and what it means to be a heart-centered individual and create a reality that is heart-centered. That many individuals in the past may not have developed such a connection, which has led their incredible power and vision and speaking abilities to lead them towards constructing a society, a reality that's not the best for reality, and definitely not the best feels. It could solve for a lot of different variables for what's necessary and what's needed, but you don't have that like happy feeling. It's not like that blissful feeling. It's just a very stale, like, this is done, we're doing it, almost monotonous drone-like experience. And so the advocacy I have is towards honing in on a frequency of heart, brain, spirit connection, which is the ultimate. And of course, it requires the exploration of this process, which I'm referencing and have undertaken. And so then it's about honing in on that and making that your default frequency, because it feels good. And then, of course, from there, you're able to use that as the benchmark and baseline to interact with different people in different situations and explore different thought currents, not because of their perceived logical appeals or even their emotional appeals, but rather the vibrational sensation you get by focusing on the frequency state of those interactions. And of course, we do tend to shorthand that and say that that's how your feelings are, and that's, for all intents and purposes, not the best way of saying it, but it's a good shorthand for a more simplified explanation of what I'm relaying. Is how does it make you feel? But this is from an upgraded operating software that pulls in all these other layers that I'm talking about, so that way It's not simply just how it targets a specific organ. Because with these bioenergetic tools and mastery over the body and vibrational frequencies, which a lot of people are discovering and understanding how to do, um, one can very easily play on your emotions by sending you specific vibes that may bypass that if you don't have specific connection to the brain and to spirit and just simply allow it to exist in the heart, it can tug on your heartstrings and on your heart, as well as other organs of your body. And definitely the reproductive organs has been one of the most abused and exploited ones in today's society, sending messages that directly deal to that, which of course when we're overstimulated by hormonal stimulated foods and anyway, it's just like you can start to see how and why it's very clear that sex, regardless of its animalistic hardwiring within us, is so easily exploited. It's a beautiful, multi-dimensional Chinese finger trap in which we've learned how to really master emitting a specific frequency that's sexual in nature, and we've pumped our bodies full of hormone-inducing foods to really get our libido up and constantly bombard ourselves with what would be very primal sexually inducing images and situations to control us, which is great. I mean, it's not great, but it's a very clear example of how you can leverage vibrational frequency and the chemical imbalances in our daily recommended foods and our growing practices and food practices to really keep a society in a particular frequency and exploit them or leverage them. So you can do the same thing, but instead of it exploiting your desire for sexual activity, you can, and I advocate it being a connection of the heart, brain, and spirit, right? Mind, body, spirit, very clearly, but that has a specific energetic frequency and energetic resonance, which you can train yourself to experience, and then make that be your normal day-to-day protocol and frequency, energy kernel that you hold that will navigate your default choices for the day, rather than like a purely like sexual activity kernel, which a lot of today is based off of that and fear and insecurity. So yeah, I wanted to leave you that message because then with that understanding, you can sort of sense and taste what that frequency is, and as you start to really embody it and digest it, you can then hold that energy and become a receiver for that energy, in which you look your day to day and your thought currents, and if things don't match that frequency, then they just pass on by. And so we have so many thoughts per second, and of course this inner work reduces our thoughts per second. But so many people come into our day, thoughts constantly come into our mind, and decisions are constantly brought up. And so we can use not just a logic mechanism or an emotional and intuitive mechanism to guide us in our decision-making process, which all have valid backing to it. I'm proposing a more sophisticated one that utilizes the heart, brain, and spirit, and then use that to really navigate and hone in on the decisions you make. And to many individuals, it could look like you are being divinely delusionally guided, and you are. And what I'm expressing is a lexicon and a framework and a foundation upon which you can explain why it is you're doing what you're doing. Because if you can explain it, then all of a sudden that delusion goes away, and you're able to logically rationalize it. So you're logically divinely guided, or at least you have a way of explaining it to a logic-based mind and to your own logic programming. So with that, the decisions you make start to add up into a beautiful frequency note. And some people, it's in their path to choose explorations of lower vibration and not get to that kind of frequency state, which is where bliss, really lies in. Well, I'll take that back. I mean, bliss lies in many various frequency states, regardless of that state. The only point that I'm referring to is to why this is valid is that it satisfies all aspects of the ego, the collective consciousness, and spirit, and therefore really guides the development of the enlightened ecosystem. For it puts everyone into their highest expression, put the ecosystems into their highest expression, and moves us towards a sustained support structure and infrastructure to not just personally go through this process, but create a thriving society that goes through this, as well as generations that are allowed or empowered to go through this as well without the incredible amount of energy and potential struggle that one and strife that one has to go through in today's society. But it's possible, and so that's great. I'm very grateful for that. And so now it's making it more accessible for others, and that is a very important consideration, considering just how fortunate I am to have been able to make these decisions based on my previous past lives and my previous lessons and decisions I've made that were certainly not walks in the park. So with that, I'll leave you with this click, and it's to provide a replacement of the subconscious or autopilot frequency that you hold in your day-to-day, that is 99% plus of your day, to where you default to the frequency and vibration of the brain, heart, spirit connection. So that way it moves us all forward towards this enlightened ecosystem concept, as well as you towards your highest expression and bliss. And the reason I advocate for upgrading your operating software is to be able to experience these things. And short of that, heart-brain coherence is definitely leading towards a more practical approach and solution, a bit void of the spiritual exploration, which is absolutely necessary for us to get there. And then short of that, accessing the heart and being guided through the emotional frequency of the heart, which is 528 hertz, which we can simply know and can express. And of course, subtle energy has heart-brain coherence that we can play as we work to enter into that state. And we can incorporate that into our day-to-day meditation practice, our ongoing interactions at work and with our family, and especially in our creative work and endeavors. And so really it's this kernel that you want to hold as your operating system. And not everyone, might be drawn to this kind of kernel or frequency. I advocate for it, clearly. However, if you're there to explore a more sacral expression or a more root expression, that's great. I still advocate for connecting to spirit, so a spirit and root, or a spirit and sacral. And of course, as a brain dominant individual, that's a default to do root and brain, root and or sacral and root. And as we're all advocating to follow our hearts wherever it goes, love, obviously love is an important component to hone into that frequency. And so that gets into aligning all the chakras, making sure those chakras are all well balanced, and perhaps it is honing in on those 9 solfeggio frequencies as the internal core in order to successfully manifest our desires in our highest expression. what I'm currently advocating for based off of my experience right now, although doing this talk really helps bring up the possibility of looking at a 9 frequency balance state in order to manifest my highest expression. However, currently I'm at the heart, brain, and spirit frequency, and that might be a personal choice, but it is an optimal choice for individuals who are passionate about upgrading their operating software, passionate about pursuing their highest purpose, and have that sort of mission within them to incorporate their spirit in what they do. Many people may not resonate with the desire to incorporate spirit and spiritual exploration in their life. And certainly, many people don't have that kind of soul, what you might call a soul mission or soul pact to do so. And for those individuals, definitely respect that, and they can become incredible allies for us who have that spiritual based mission, and they don't need to tap into the cosmos and do akashic readings to pursue their passion. Maybe they just intuitively know, or they just logically know, like, oh, this guy's idea, his idea came, or the thought current came because he's connected heart, brain, and spirit, which is great. Yeah, cool. I applaud you for being able to do that, but I don't need to do that. I already see what you're saying, and I want to help, and I'm a very heart-centered and brain coherent individual, so let me help. That's really cool too. So, what is your kernel? What is your emotion? And that's straight from Witeki. I want to give him credit. I've really adopted that view and frame from a vibrational awareness perspective, because it works really well. And so with each organ playing a specific frequency, what is the combination of all the frequencies? What is the combination of all the organs that you wish to manifest? Of course, having an aligned chakra system makes sense. However, I'm currently advocating for at least the exploration of connecting heart, brain, and spirit together. And from there, we can explore all the rest being integrated as the default kernel that you go about your day-to-day on. So with that, I will leave you for the next edition of Clifton's Clicks, your cliff notes to the cosmos. I'm your host with the mostest, Clifton. All right. Love, respect, motivation, gratitude. Have a great day, and let's make some stuff happen.